Let's get that squared away. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's so nice to see everybody here this morning for this IAALA in Focus presentation. My name is Ani Boyajan. I'm Research and Special Collections Manager at Los Angeles Public Library and also on the IAALA's Executive Board. IAALA, the International Association of Armenian Librarians and Archivists, was founded a few years back to allow Armenian professionals or non-Armenians working with Armenian collections worldwide to network with each other and discuss issues germane to surfacing existing and hidden collections and dealing with preservation and digitization issues. To find out more about us, please go to IAALA.org. We encourage you to join us because we need help, and there's strength in numbers for sure. We're very excited today to have Shahan Vidal-Goren with us today to discuss his and his colleagues' work in AI, artificial intelligence and technology, and the cultural preservation of Armenian resources. Shahan Vidal-Goren is the founder and CEO of Kalfa, a startup specializing in natural language processing for Oriental languages and developing systems dedicated to helping cultural heritage professionals and institutions address their digitization and preservation needs. He is currently pursuing his PhD in Armenian paleography and computer vision at École Nationale des Arts PSL, and where he also teaches in the Digital Humanities Master's Program. For more information about Kalfa, please go to their website to learn about their exciting projects at kalfa.fr, CALFA.fr. We hope that Shahan will also say a few words about the most exciting project with the Samalian Library. That's near and dear to many of our hearts. And please note that all of these IAALA in Focus series are recorded and available on our website. And also, without further ado, I welcome Shahan to give his presentation. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Annie, and thank you very much, Nora and the association for inviting me, and thank you everybody interested by the topic of the day. I'm very pleased to be present today. I'm very pleased to introduce you our projects and works. My presentation will basically take the form of a general feedback of our last projects to highlight how we use artificial intelligence with Armenian heritage, and to see what is already possible and how to implement it in new digital libraries and what could be done in the future, basically. And of course, I will say some words about the Samalian library. So I will be very interested by your feedback to discuss about these opportunities for Armenian heritage and how you imagine the future in this field. So enhancing collections, what are we talking about? So this diagram summarizes what it's all about. We observe since several years a huge dynamic of digitization around the world and the creation of very big digital libraries comprising thousands of documents, manuscripts, photos, etc. And you are major actors of this dynamic. So libraries are involved in that, in many projects to preserve and to share their collections. And it's very precious because we can now easily access a document remotely to study it or to discover it. But there is still one major issue with digital libraries. These digitizations are basically images. So even if the document in itself is preserved and more accessible, you still can't access the information inside it. And if you are looking for some specific information, you will have to browse one by one the images because there is no other way to reach these informations. For instance, a name, for instance, a people inside a newspaper, a sentence in a manuscript, any kind of information you are looking for. So, and I'm not talking about the difficulty of reading handwritten scripts to understand classical Armenian, etc. So the document is accessible, but not the content of the document. So it's a reason why we can now rely on artificial intelligence to enhance accessibility by creating augmented versions of the documents. If the digitization allows us to access the document, AI can allow us to access the information, basically. And by artificial intelligence, I mean automatization of the studying process. As experts of writing systems, experts of art history, expert of pictures of a specific period of time, like the Armenian genocide, expert of code ecology, etc. We can train artificial intelligence models to automatically read unwritten text, to convert an image into a searchable document. We can train a model to perform name entity recognition, to identify some people inside a wall collection. We can also perform image similarity to find, I don't know, similar illuminations inside manuscripts, etc., etc. There is an infinity of applications for the same goal, enhancing Armenian heritage. And why using AI? Because we can obviously perform this work manually. I mean, reading manuscripts, yes, we can do it for 10, 100, maybe 1,000 documents. But when you have millions of pages, you can't do it manually, obviously. So this is what we do in CALFA, designing, training, releasing artificial intelligence model for heritage. So you have made a good presentation of CALFA. Thank you very much, because I completely forgot to present it at the beginning of my presentation. So yes, this is a startup specialized in document analysis, document understanding more generally, specifically for Oriental languages. Armenian is obviously our first specialty, but we are involved in several projects that include Arabic manuscripts, Ethiopian manuscripts, Byzantine Greek, Syriac, Georgian, Persian. I don't remember the whole list, but you can find them on our website. And depending on the project, in fact, we extend our expertise on newscripts, so it's not fixed. So basically, our specialty is to detect informations inside a document, to extract this information, to manipulate it, to store the information inside a database, and this database allow library or an individual to access more easily to these informations. You have here some of our most latest projects. One of them is our project we have with the Meritarist Congregation of Venice. They are digitizing the wall correspondences of the monks since the beginning of the congregation. And we are processing all the letters from Melkonian, Urmuz, I don't remember the whole list, but a lot of them, a lot of famous Meritarists. It's quite challenging because the layout is quite complex, as you can see. And the script is also very cursive, but by training our model on it, we are able to reach a mean accuracy of good recognition of 96%. So it's quite good. One of the other projects is with the Peters publisher. In particular, we have processed with the Gregory team the corpus Scriptorium Christianorum Orientalium. It is printed documents in Armenian, Arabic, Georgian, Syriac, Ethiopian. And for that, we have 99% of good recognition. And more recently, or it is ongoing, we are involved with the French National Library and the Bulac Library in Paris in the digitization and authorization of Arabic manuscripts, Maghrebi Arabic manuscripts. There is different kind of challenge in this kind of documents. Basically, the layout that is very complex, but also the vocalization of Arabic is something quite difficult to handle, but with some specific training, it's okay. And we have also made a project about Ethiopian this year. So I think you are already aware about text recognition, but just to fix ideas for printed documents, so OCR, it's quite solved. The problem is quite solved. In general, we consider it as a solved problem because we can easily reach 98, 99% of good recognition. And thanks to AI, we have observed a very huge improvements of this kind of technologies with the last years. For Latin script in particular, because for non-Latin scripts, sometimes it's still quite difficult to reach a good accuracy. In particular, if you are dealing with non-usual fonts or very complex layouts. Voilà. So just some examples on Armenian. Three famous softwares, AB and Tesseract, you know them very well. They consist in very generic recognition model for Armenian language in particular. And you see that for this simple document, there is no difficulty. AB and Tesseract are able of very good accuracy. 2% of mistakes or 6% of mistakes, it's quite readable. So no problem with that. There is some mistakes with some punctuation marks or some specificity of the fonts, but nothing very dramatic. And for Kalfa, that is specifically designed for Armenian, 1% of mistakes. So for simple document like that, it's okay. The problem is solved. But when you add a bit more complexity in your task, so for instance, that, so it's not a lot of complexity, it's just a background, some variations in the font, maybe a specific font of a specific journal. When you add that, you can see that it is not accurate anymore for the generic models. So we have between 15 and 30% of mistakes. So it's not readable and not useful for doing anything with the text. And only a specialized technology like Kalfa is able to handle this complexity because it's specifically trained on this kind of data, this kind of noise, this kind of script, etc. And I think it is one of the most important things to have in mind for the rest of my presentation. I will only talk about specialized AI like Alpha and not generic AI like other kind of technology. So this kind of difficulty is quite difficult to handle for the machine. And we have the same kind of things for handwritten documents, but handwritten text recognition, so HTR, so basically OCR for handwriting. It is a specialty of Kalfa. It's quite common now in digital humanities projects, especially for Latin scripts, because they are able to provide a huge amount of data to train their model. And it begins to work quite well for other kind of scripts, in particular Armenian. I will show you some results in a few moments. And basically, the system is a three-step process for one given image. You have to identify where is the content you want to extract. So you have in my slide, in green the main text, in red the marginalia, in blue some tables. So first step is to just detect where is the content I'm interested in. Second step is just to extract lines from the interesting regions. And once I have detected my lines, I extract, I recognize the text. So it's a three-step process. And thanks to AI, we are able to specialize our model for each step. So I'm talking about specialization and models. So it's because we are dealing with artificial intelligence, and how does it work? So basically, it's always the same thing with artificial intelligence, any kind of artificial intelligence. So if you want to detect a table, it will be the same process. You have a problem, you create a data set, you train your model, you apply it. If it is satisfying, you stop there and you have a model that is able to do that. And if it is not satisfying at all, you just add more data in your model, you train it again, and you see if it is okay now. And if yes, you stop there. And if not, you add more data, etc., etc. So it's an endless process like that to reach a good accuracy. But with this approach, you understand that we have a problem with when we are dealing with heritage materials, and in particular Armenian and their resource scripts. We are not able to continually bring more data to train our system. So if my document does not contain a lot of pages, if my document is damaged, if my layout is very complex, any kind of difficulty like that, how can I do? How I am able to have an artificial intelligence model? It's the main question. So it's the reason why we are only doing specialized things, customized model on a specific task in order to reach the maximum of accuracy we can get for a given task, and not a generic approach that is able to handle any kind of problems. One day, maybe, we will reach that. Of course, it's a goal in Alpha, but for now, when you want to deal with this kind of problematic, the best approach is to just rely on specialized AI. And when you are doing that, when you are dealing with only specialized AI, you can have that. So it's a letter from Hormuz in the 19th century from the Meritarist congregation. It's very cursive. Voilà, it's quite difficult to read it. I have some difficulty by myself to read it. I need some time to familiarize a bit with the script. And the artificial intelligence, after some training, is able to very accurately recognize that, to read that. 99% of good recognition for this letter. So the abbreviations are not read. So you can see that there is some mistakes, some abbreviated words, or there is some combinations of characters that doesn't mean anything, but it's because it's an abbreviation. But the whole text in general is quite accurately recognized, or maybe not quite accurately, very accurately recognized. So voilà, this is what we do, and what is the final goal for any kind of document. And basically, this is what we can do for any kind of document. We just need to provide some samples like that to the AI to define what we want to recognize and how we want to recognize it, to train the model, and to have something able to do exactly the same for similar documents. When I say similar, it's just because if I train my model on the Hormuz hand, it will only recognize the Hormuz hand and not the other one. Or I can do something, but is especially trained on Hormuz hand. But in fact, artificial intelligence is good, but a lot of things have to be done manually, and a lot of choices have to be done by specialists like you and me. In fact, artificial intelligence is just a question of choices, and there is no AI design by default on your needs, on every kind of needs. And as a philologist, a scientist, codicologist, student, librarian, you have to make some choices to fit the models according to your needs. This step is crucial because, after all, this kind of technology is like a decision support tool, just a way to automatize a task, nothing more. And this automatization relies on your human choices and expertise. And this is what you have on the screen right now. It's a Byzantine Greek manuscript we have processed last year or before last year. It's a manuscript of l'Iliade. And you have different level of informations. You have the main text, you have some marginalia, you have some interlinear words, and you can decide to recognize everything in this manuscript, but we can also decide to only recognize the main text or only focus on the marginalia, or we can also decide to only read the commentary by opposition with the main text, that is the paraphrase of Iliad. There is no good choice. It's just a choice to do. We have made the choice to only read the main text and the commentary, and to not extract, to not detect the gloss, the marginalia, and the interlinear text. We have other kind of choices, in fact. I like a lot this example. So it's a manuscript from the Matinadaran. And the HTR model is perfect. So there is absolutely no mistakes in the transcription. Characters are all recognized accurately, but you understand that the result is not readable at all because the layout is not handled by the model. The intonation is not handled too. There is no separations between the words. There is no abbreviations that have been read, etc., etc. So if I only focus on the question of character recognition, I miss a lot of informations like that. And if then I am able to recognize accurately characters, but not the text. And I'm interested by the text and not the characters. So I have to do some choices. The first one is, okay, I need to read it column by column and not the whole text like that. I have to decide if I want to read automatically the abbreviations or not. So it's an important editorial choice because if you need to integrate the result in a digital library, obviously the final user will look for some words and not abbreviated words. But as a philologist, you might be interested by the abbreviated form and not the expanded one. Some choices like that that are not so easy to define. So at the beginning of the project of any kind of HTR or OCR project, we have to make some guidelines like that in order to say, okay, I need that. So this is a more accurate version of my example with some reading of abbreviations. Words are not separated, but at least columns are splitted. And for Armenian, we have some difficulties with that because of the abbreviation system. And for other kind of languages, we have other kind of difficulties to handle. So three examples here. We have 3 words in Armenian. They are abbreviated. And you know that in Armenian manuscripts, there is only 2 ways to indicate that the word is abbreviated, with a badiv, an horizontal stroke above the letters, and some 2 vertical strokes like we have for the word in the right. And you have to know the word to know how to expand it, how to read it. And it's not like for Latin manuscript for which we have 200, 300 different signs for abbreviated words. We only have these two one, and if you don't know the word, and it is exactly the same thing for AI, if you don't know the word, you will not be able to read accurately the word. And we have some surprise sometimes with some abbreviations that have been read not accurately at all. It is quite sometimes convincing, but it is absolutely not the good word. I will show you some examples later. And for Arabic, for instance, here, some interesting thing. For one given transcription, you can have a different way to write it. So should I mix everything inside the same transcription? It's a choice. According to the context, maybe it will succeed to overcome this difficulty. Or the opposite way, for one given image, for one given representation of my word inside my manuscript, I can have different transcriptions according to the context. So it's also a choice to do at the beginning of my project. And this is what we do every day in Calfa, doing some choices like that in order to have the more suitable results for a given use case. So just some examples of how we use AI in digital libraries and how we use AI in different projects. So just to show you some use cases. So this is a manuscript from the French National Library. It is a microfilm. And this microfilm is very damaged. So it's quite difficult to read it, even for a human. So we focused on character recognition. We didn't try to recognize abbreviated words. So you can see here, for instance, I don't know if you see my mouse, but in the line number 4, in the middle, you have something like a tilde. So it means ashrar in manuscripts. And so we have decided to transcribe it with the same tilde because it was too much difficult to manage this kind of reading and the noise we have in the image, basically. So, but at the end, we have something like 95.1% of good recognition in that. So microfilms, problem solved. Here, another letter from the Meritarist congregation, the Melkonian letter. So one of the most difficult script hand in the corpus of the Meritarist. So because it's very cursive and it's also a bit noisy because there is a transparency of the letters and the text in the back, something like that to handle, and the watermark also to handle. And for this one, we read directly the abbreviations in order to have something already searchable at the end. And because also Father Vahan, that is in charge of the project, is interested in the expanded forms of the words. But sometimes it adds some completely random letters to try to read an abbreviations, and sometimes instead of vorbes, because there is a vo and b, the HTR reads boros. We don't know why, but sometimes that happens. But also this kind of data, problem solved. So this is two examples of HTR and two very common application of HTR. When I mean character recognition, it's exactly what you have in mind. And the good news, it it works for Armenian if we are able to train a specialized model instead of a generic one. But for this project, I don't remember exactly how many pages we have processed, something like now 10,000 or 15,000 letters. So you understand why we have used this approach instead of doing it manually. But there is other kind of applications of AI integrating HTR. Always for the Meritorious, still for the Meritorious library, we are doing the index, the catalog of the correspondences automatically. So we detect some meaningful regions inside the letters where it is copied, the date of copy, the place of copy, who is the author of the letter, who is the destinataire, the man who received the letter, this kind of information in order to fill automatically the database. And to have something like an index in which we can easily navigate. So this kind of applications is very common in our project now. And we are doing the same approach for the conversion of bibliographic records from the Nubar library. So my example is in English, no, French, not Armenian, but it's because we have a lot of books that are not in Armenian in the Nubar library. So we are just detecting some specific area, meaningful text regions inside the image in order to automatically categorize the information. So index number in red, catalog number in green, the author name in blue, and the content in general, the other kind of informations in yellow. So it's the OCR step. And once we have the text, we can do text analysis on it to identify some name entities, to identify some specific informations we want to extract. So for instance, the place of publishing, the name of the publisher, the date of publishing, the number of pages, and the size of the book. So we have done that for the non-Armenian documents. So it's something like, I don't remember exactly. I don't know if Boris Adjemian is here today, but something like 20,000 or 25,000 of bibliographic records like that. So it's done now. And we have started in December to do exactly the same for Armenian bibliographic records. So it's something like quite similar in the quantity, 20,000 bibliographic records. And voila, so it is just for highlighting this kind of extraction and structuration of the information. Another kind of application in partnership with the Gregory project from Louvain-la-Neuve and Bernard Coulis and Bastien Kint and Emmanuel van der Waldinge. Once you have the text, okay, you are happy with that. You can obviously do a lot of things with the raw text, but we can also augment the information inside this text. So we can perform lemmatization, for instance. So basically say, okay, this word form is from this lemma in order to simplify and to allow linguistic searches inside the corpus. And we can also do part of speech tagging. It means identify if it is a proper name, if it is a verb, if it is a noun, etc. Just to looking for some, okay, I want a verb with a noun just after and a preposition just before in all my data set, and it will work like that. So my example is in Arabic, because with them, we are dealing a lot of Oriental languages, but it works also for Armenian, more specifically classical Armenian. But some projects are now focused on Western Armenian, in particular the Dali project in INALCO in Paris, and for Eastern Armenian in Armenia with some teams. Voilà. Another application of HTR, something that comes from HTR, basically. So identifying inside inscriptions some meaningful, some relevant informations. So basically, I'm just doing object detection here on the letter IP in some different inscriptions, and I perform image similarity automatically in order to find some IP or some letters that are some shapes that are close to the one I am focusing in. It works pretty well for inscriptions only if the inscription is not too much damaged, but it's an ongoing field, it's an open field of study. So I'm sure in the future we will reach very, very accurate results. When I say we, it's not only CALPHA, it's just the entire community involved in reading Armenian inscriptions and doing artificial intelligence in general. But it is an application we can apply, for instance, for illumination in manuscripts. We just detect in this manuscript, I don't know, Jesus Christos, and we can say, okay, this representation of Jesus is very close to this one, and maybe doing something nice with art history like that. And for doing that, basically, we just need to manually annotate some data just to show to the model, okay, this is Jesus. He is composed of a head, of something specific dress, etc. And there is a moment, there is a point from which the model will be able to do exactly the same and to generalize a bit the approach. Something we had last month or 2 months ago. It was a good surprise with a project we have with the French National Library. We are focused on reading manuscripts from the Delaurier collection, something like 14 manuscripts. And we have trained our model to analyze the layout of the manuscripts. And we have also included in our models the ability of detecting stamps. And at the end, we have processed 3,000 pages. And we have now a data set of stamps like that. So I'm not able to understand them. There is something I cannot handle by myself, but I'm sure there is someone in the Armenian scientific community that could be interested by this kind of stuff. So it's just an object detection approach, and it works very, very well. And it is something we have in mind to generalize it in the future. So how can I use CALPHA OCR? So all of these applications are related to CALPHA OCR. So we act basically as a service provider. And there is two main use cases. The first one is your document is quite simple with common fonts, common handwritten scripts, a basic layout, etc. And okay, for this kind of simplicity, our default models are ready to use as they are. And if your document is more complex, or for instance, with an absolutely dramatic layout or very new handwritten script, something like that, we will need to fit our models to define some guidelines to overcome the task, to customize the model on the specific task. This can be in collaboration with you, or everything can be also achieved by CALFA directly. And also, we are involved in several philanthropic projects and heritage projects in collaboration with some institutions to bring this kind of technologies to new use cases, to new user, etc. So just to summarize everything I have said today, so the OCR pipeline, HTR pipeline in itself is a solved problem for Armenia now. It's very easy to reach more than 95% of good recognition with specialized models. But we still have to keep in mind that it is a game between the human and the machine, because AI can't do anything without some editorial choices we have to do. And in fact, researchers, you, me, we, librarians, are at the heart of the process of training and defining new AI models. So basically, libraries have a key role to play in the future to define what do they want for the user, how they want to promote, how they want to enhance accessibility to their collections. And at the end, once we will have processed a huge amount of data, it will pave the way to data mining, for instance. And yeah, obviously, I can't end my speech without saying some words about the Samuelian library, Samuelian bookstore in English. It's a new project we started this month. And basically, it's a project in collaboration with the Kalous Gulbenkian Foundation and the Fundamental Scientific Library of the National Academy of Sciences of the Republic of Armenia, FSL of Nastra. Basically, we are focused on newspapers. They have a huge amount of newspapers, in particular newspapers from the diaspora, newspapers from France, from Greece, Romania, Egypt, India, Georgia, Lebanon. You have the idea. And a lot of these newspapers are in a very poor state of conservation. So we will act as in a two-step project. The first step will be to digitize everything in order to preserve the copy, even if some of them are already available in some digital libraries. And then we will authorize these documents in order to create some searchable documents. These documents will be added inside existing digital libraries, such as the Pan-Armenian Digital Library or the TERT Digital Library of the National Library of Armenia. So we will train specifically our AI model to handle this damage, this kind of layout, this kind of fonts. And we will also perform other kind of computational methods, such as identifying stamps inside the collections, identifying some advertisement like that in purple on the right, in order to create some meaningful, relevant data set for the community. And voilà. And we will digitize everything that is relevant for us and for the community. So currently there is no end in this process, but it is a 12-month project, and we are very happy to start it. And I hope it will lead to something more and stronger in the future. So thank you very much for your attention, and voilà. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
You. Ani.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Lebo.
I wanted to thank you very much for someone who has been dealing with text for some 55 years. It AI and OCR can seem a bit overwhelming, but your presentation was informative, clear, accessible, and very welcome. So I thank you. I just have one question before I open the floor to questions. And I think, Anijan, I think we usually try to limit these events to about an hour, but I think a 15-minute Q&A is not beyond the scope. What do you think, Ani? You're muted.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have just one question, and as someone who is a little apprehensive about even 95% accuracy, when you do mount the OCR text, your conversion, and by the way, I'm extremely happy to see you and everyone use AI as a tool and not the subject itself. I congratulate you on this. But will you be mounting also the digitized version, the graphic version, along with the textual version?
Thank you very much for your feedback and your comments. So yes, indeed, as a philologist and as a user, we still need the original image to work with the document. I agree with that. It's the reason why most of the digital libraries now include a viewer that is able to handle both the image and the transcription. We have also in Calfa a tool to have side by side the text and the image to see where is exactly the information I'm reading. For the meritorious congregations in particular, we plan to, at the end of the project, to release most of the letters, and we will have side by side the informations in order to still have a link with the original document, because obviously it's very important. In general, 95% is very good to read a document, but we still have some mistakes to overcome. So it's very useful for looking for some keywords inside the document, but not enough for an edition, for instance, obviously. But we have never said that AI replace the editor work, but it will allow you to spare a lot of time, yes, obviously, yeah.
Well, I know a lot of philologists who cannot reach 95%, so that's, you should be congratulated. Now, questions, does open questions, can we minimize the shared screen so we can see the people?
Sorry.
Yeah, okay. Do we have any questions? I realize that this was quite a rich presentation, but we are both scholars and librarians, and I'm sure there are some. Well, what about, for those of us who knew the Samuelians, I cannot think of them without wondering whether they'd be smiling that their wonderful little store is going to be used for such kind of dissemination of materials. I just wish they were there to see it. Ani, Nora, Seda, anyone? I think you have overwhelmed us.
Dikran has his hand up. Dikran.
Oh, I don't see it. Tigran?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, there you
Sean,
are. I can't see you on the screen.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you for a great presentation. You are doing tremendous important work for preserving Armenian written and handwritten heritage. My question, in a lot of newspapers or books, we can find different language scripts. What about your system? Can it recognize the scripts altogether?
Paresh, Tigran, I'm very happy to see you. Thank you for your question. Yes, so basically we have different models for each script. So one model for Arabic, one model for Cyrillic, one model for Armenian, etc. And we first have an AI that is able to detect which language we have at a specific part of a document, and it chooses the relevant model for that. So in most of the latest projects, the final user was only interested by one script. So we didn't perform the recognition of the other kind of scripts. But yes, for the newspapers, in particular of the Samarian library, we will have some models for French or Latin script in general, some models for Cyrillic in order to include them inside the results. By default, we only deal with monolingual, monoscriptal models because, according to me, it's the best way to reach the maximum of accuracy for one given model, but we can deal with different models at the same time for specific scripts.
Other questions?
Sean, thank you so much. This was a treat for me. It was fantastic presentation. My question is, when you're digitizing, for instance, any manuscript or newspapers, if you have a damaged page or missing page, would it be able, I mean, I don't know how it works. I know you're concentrating on script, but if you are missing a page, can you somehow find that page in some other libraries if they have a digitized version and incorporate it in your copy and in a sense make it complete, or that is something out of your perimeter of work?
Well, thank you. Quite difficult question. I would need to think about it a bit more, but just two use cases. For instance, for the Samarian library, there is some issues in the digital libraries already available that are missing. So we know that they are missing, so we specifically digitize them in priority. But I understand that in your point, it automatically find a page that is the one that is missing inside my document. So not so easy to do. We could do some text analysis to have some statistical informations about the text we are dealing with, in order to have something like a similarity score between two documents, in order to say, okay, this one is with a certain amount of confidence, this one is from my manuscript, from my text. But it would require as a first step to authorize a huge amount of manuscripts and to make them available, at least the text, to make them available online in order to automatize the process of score calculation and similarity calculation. So at this step, at this moment, it's not something we do because we basically do not have this kind of data. But one day, once data will be enough in the worldwide internet, it will be possible. Something we could do at this moment is to calculate the similarity of a sentence of a specific part of a text with another one. But we have to do it by choosing manually the text and say, okay, calculate the similarity of these two texts. So that works pretty well currently in the digital humanities fields. I have seen a lot of things about that for French documents, ancient French documents, Latin documents too. Not so much for Armenian, but I have some students that are doing that for Armenian, and it's quite convincing. but not available for an industrial approach. Right now.
Sean, I have been reading or attempting to read some inscriptions that are badly damaged.
Mm.
Is it at all possible, and this is theoretical, and you can say you haven't thought of this, is it at all possible for AI to look at an inscriptional stone, perhaps by measuring the space of each letter,
Yeah.
and then to suggest what could fit in the gaps in an inscription?
Yeah. Completely. I have seen an incredible project from the University of Venice in collaboration with Google. The project is named ITACA, to spell it in English, ITHACA, ITACA. It is focused on Greek inscriptions, and the inscriptions are completely destroyed. There is only some words that are randomly displayed, and the model is able to at least propose some readings. Some of them are not relevant, but if my memory is correct, in 66% of cases, it was very convincing, and philologists were agree with the suggestions. So yes, we could do the same for Armenian. It's something I would love to do. There is just one major issue. They have trained their model with something like 100,000 inscriptions. I'm not sure we have such a data set right now. No. But maybe once we will have enough process documents in general, with a huge amount of proper names inside the models, we will be able to propose some readings. It's already the case for manuscripts, damaged manuscripts like microfilms. There is a language model inside the HTR model that is able to say, okay, in this context, it can be only this word. But for inscriptions, it's a next step. But I would love to do something like that. So I'm open to collaborate on that.
I think we have time for one more question, if there is anyone.
I have a question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Melanie?
Oh,
Or was it?
yeah.
Yes.
May I? Okay.
Yes, of course.
Shahan, thank you for your presentation. So I also love very much the Saint-Maillon bookstore, and I'm interested in the destiny of the books and journals. And what's about the digitized items? Where will they be hosted, and what is with the hard copies? Where they will be hosted? So in the library, they will remain in the library, or another place for them?
I'm not able to answer completely to this question, because we still do not know what will be the future precisely of the library, of the bookstore. But to be honest, there is some newspapers that will be completely destroyed by the digitization process, because they are in a very very poor state of conservation. So they will not survive to the digitization, unfortunately. It's something like 20% of them. So it's quite big, but there is a lot of water, there is some fire, etc. So it's not, we are not magicians. So for the other documents, yes, I hope there will be released in any way to the community, but it is something that has not been discussed yet. But we will let you know as soon as possible, and each month we will publish some blog posts, etc., about the life of the project. So yes, as soon as we have an idea and some good answer for that, we will share with you. And also, if the community of librarians have some ideas, wants to help us to do something, we will be very happy to discuss and to build something together. It's a 12-month project, so we still have some time, but
I see one more hand, and this will be the last question. Ms. Mankarian?
Yes, hi. Sorry. I was trying to on an iPad. My question follows Melena's question, actually. Thanks, Melena, for starting that. What is the format of these captures? So how are you preserving it digitally? If you have said it, I apologize. I may have missed it, but what file format is it? And is it something that will be, you know, in the long term available and non-proprietary? You know, for example, in a lot of libraries, we're using PDFs, even though that sounds proprietary, but it is open. And it does have preservation capabilities. So I just wanted to know what your format is. Thanks.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, it's something we have in mind. So basically, when we authorize the document, we export our results in an XML file. This XML file can be a page XML file or an Alto XML file. Alto XML is in particular designed by the Library of Congress, if my memory is correct. So it's just a way to describe a document, so the layout, and also to store the text inside it. So we still have a connection between the image and the text. So it's very useful for that. And this format is completely interoperable with all the kind of system digital libraries, such as the Mirador viewer, IIIF servers, etc. And so this is the main file we will generate to preserve and to store the results. So it's the long-term storation. But for the daily use, for instance, for a user like you and me inside a digital library, we'll also export it as a PDF, a searchable PDF file to include the results inside the Fundamental Scientific Library, digital library, for instance. So this format is proprietary, but is quite easy to handle for the general public. But we will have both, basically. We will have XML files for digital libraries and long-term conservation, and PDF files for general public. And basically, I forgot to say that all the data we will produce for the project of the Samarian Library will be freely available on our GitHub, so they can be included inside other kind of system, other kind of viewer, etc.
I have just been corrected that Ani, did you, Havanisan, did you have a question? You're muted.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Ahan, for your very forward-looking and history-preserving presentation. And hello to all of you. And you are so central in keeping our story alive digitally for the ages. And you mentioned, you alluded to this, and I missed it in the beginning. Is there and this is for all of you, a thought of how we could consolidate and create a central repository of kind of all Armenian-related digital archives that can be useful for all people, for all the ages? And also, Shahan, to you, do people send to you these? I know in some cases you go to them, it seems like maybe the Mokhitaris, but do people send these treasures to you in the mail?
Yeah, completely. Just to answer to the last questions, yeah, we receive every day some personal archives, some letters from the grandfather, etc. And when it's possible to read it, yes, we are very happy to give a positive answer, to say, okay, this is the results you can have for your letters. Sometimes the script is very, very difficult to handle, and unfortunately, because we rely on training with samples, basically it's AI, so we're training with samples. Sometimes the corpus are not big enough to train an accurate model to overcome the script. So sometimes it's not always possible to read it accurately. But yes, of course, we receive a lot of demands like that. For the first question, I'm not sure I'm able to answer accurately. I think all the librarians that are here today will be more able to do that. But there exists the IIIF community that is image interoperability, IIIF image interoperability and quelque chose, something framework. That is a way to exchange images. And so you can have some images from the Library of Congress, some images from the French National Library, images from the UCLA Library, images from another one. And you can print them inside the same place with the same Mirador viewer without having to have only one repository. So the IIIF is a good way to exchange informations and to display them in a single place. So that could be a good alternative. For instance, we have released last year a short list of digitized Armenian manuscripts that are available online. It's Armenian Manuscript Index. We have made with Emmanuel van Elverdinger last year, and Anush Sarkisian of the Matena Daran. And in this place, we plan to integrate a viewer that is able to just display images from several digital libraries, different digital libraries. So what could be a good alternative?
Well, I wish to thank you, Shahan, for a very informative talk, and to Ani and the rest. The executive committee, or the members of the executive committee that actually formed IAALA, have talked about central repositories as a desiderata. My comment on that for the moment is bites apsos yerazir, but we'll see. I'm going to yield to Ani Boyajian, who puts together these wonderful events for IAALA. Thank you again, Shahan, and thank you all for coming. Ani, John?
Yeah, I just want to add, thank you so much, Shahan, for this thought-provoking conversation around cultural heritage preservation, which is near and dear to all of our hearts. And hopefully we can keep this conversation going and learn more about Kalfa and Kalfa's work, because I think it's just fantastic. So thank you everyone for joining us this morning, this evening, or this afternoon, wherever you happen to be. And we hope you'll join us again for our next IAALA in Focus series. And remember, this has been recorded and you can view it on our website, IAALA.org. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.